Hello, everybody. My name is Leslie Fillmore. I'm the program coordinator for the Arlington and City of Alexandria Extension Master Gardeners. Welcome to our information night for 2025 volunteer training. Before we get started, there's a couple things I want to put forward. If you're joining us and you are not from Arlington or the City of Alexandria, I would like to encourage you to watch the comparable program for the program that you would apply to. So, while we cover a lot of the same topics during our training, each program is different in how they run the date of the classes, the format of the classes, some of the internship requirements, those will be different. So if you're joining us from somewhere outside of Arlington and the City of Alexandria or close by, you're welcome to stay on. Just be aware that you may have some differences in the program that you end up applying to. Next, we want you to know, in order to give you back as much of your evening as possible, we're going to plan to go through our full presentation and then we will take questions at the end. So those who have questions are welcome to stay on and ask them. And we do encourage you to go ahead and type questions in the chat during the presentation, and we will make sure at the end to address those questions. Next thing I want to let you know is that normally we'd be kicking off our program with our Virginia Cooperative Extension Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, but our wonderful agent retired at the end of March after 17 years. So I wanted to tell you this just so you know that we're currently short-staffed in our office, but I knew that coming up. Fortunately, she gave us a lot of lead time. So last year I did pre-planning to make sure we could still run an effective volunteer training. And I have a great team of master gardeners who are going to help me with the training this year. So we will be in good shape, even with a staffing shortage. As I said, our extension agent is not here tonight, but instead we have the wonderful board president of our association, Master Gardeners of Northern Virginia, and Cindy Robertson will be stepping in to tell you what Master Gardeners do out in our community. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I really appreciate that introduction. As Leslie said, my name is Cindy Robertson, and I've been serving on the board of the Master Gardeners of Northern Virginia for 3 years now. I only became a Master Gardener in 2022, so this evening's presentation is very fresh in my mind. And I just want to say how excited I was after this presentation when I saw it back in 22. I hope we can achieve the same degree of excitement for you all sitting out there tonight. Thank you all for being here. As Leslie mentioned, this year is special for a couple of reasons. Actually, she mentioned one, which is the fact that our extension agent just recently retired in March, and that's actually a photo of her in the bottom corner. She's sandwiched between two Master Gardeners, and she's wearing the Master Gardener sweatshirt. We all just loved her, and she was fantastic. But I want to say that we hold Leslie in as much admiration and esteem as we did our agent. Leslie is phenomenal. We know that without her, the program would not be the same. And she's been well aware that we would likely be in this situation. So we've got extraordinary resources to make this year run as smoothly as you can possibly imagine. So the fact that we are missing our agent should in no way prevent you from applying to be a Master Gardener this year. All right, let's continue and we'll talk about who we are. One of the key questions I had before I became a Master Gardener was, I guess, the level that people were at before they joined the program. And I want to just emphasize that we come from all walks of life. So some of us have had a lot of gardening experience, and some of us are total novices. And then there's a wide range of folks in between. One thing that I learned is, I guess I thought in some ways I was experienced, but then I would learn through the excellent science-based research that has been conducted, and that we learn that, my Aunt Mabel, who told me I should do this when planting, was not always, it might be a garden myth that we learn is not always the best practice. So what we have access to when we join this program is just some excellent teaching. I became a Master Gardener after I retired because I had a very busy life as a lawyer before joining the program and knew I wouldn't have the hours to really focus on this until I was retired. Now, it's true we have a lot of retirees, but it's also true that I think since COVID, we realized the benefits of pre-recording a lot of the educational content, and it's enabled us to reach a much broader applicant pool, folks who are still working full time or who have families at home still. And what I found is that it's really enriched our community. So we have people who are still working, we have people who are retired, people with families, and it's really energized our group. The other important point is that it takes more than just a love of gardening to be a successful master gardener. That is because you must also enjoy sharing the knowledge that you glean with your community. A lot of people think like, oh, I want to become a master gardener because of all the excellent training, and that's true, but you're really being trained to be a volunteer to share the information you learn with those around you. So it can be your neighbors, it can be folks at a plant clinic, it can be through a demonstration garden, but our goal is really to educate the public about what we know. We're like this volunteer corps that's trained and set out to educate our fellow citizens. Okay, so next slide, please. This is a graphic that demonstrates the journey in general terms of how you become a master gardener. Just like any journey or quest, you need to be worthy. And so you start with training by Virginia Cooperative Extension. So VCE is a combination of Virginia Tech and Virginia State University. Those are Virginia's two land grant universities. And those two universities combine to develop a curriculum that we are then taught. This is an excellent program. There's this big, thick binder of content that you will receive as a master gardener. And so the first portion of the journey is mainly learning through reading and presentations, and then you'll be taking open book quizzes, and then you'll have a final exam at the end, which is also open book. And I'll go into more details later. But following that, then you practice what you've learned. And you do that by being an intern. And that period of time lasts about a year. You have work that you need to do as an intern to sort of put into practice what you've been trained to do. Part of your internship is volunteering in the community, and then you continue that volunteering after you become an extension master gardener. And we might as well flip to the next slide, but at the bottom here, I tried to visually depict too. There's like VCE is the trainer, and then you become a master gardener, and then you can join Master Gardeners of Northern Virginia, which is the association that helps organize us. And I'll go into more details about who we are later. But this slide is really great in terms of providing the details about the path to becoming an extension master gardener. So as I mentioned, you'll have book study that lasts about 2 to 3 months. You'll have weekly meetings, some quizzes, some in-person practicums like on pruning or other things. Then you are required to take a final exam. It's an open book exam, so very low pressure. Once you pass that exam, then we have a graduation ceremony, and you'll be asked to volunteer 60 hours of time toward becoming certified. And there will be more details about what exactly is entailed with that, but basically it provides you with an opportunity to sample all the different ways in which we routinely volunteer with the community. You have a year to complete those requirements, and some people go through them super fast and certify very quickly, and other people take much longer. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes you, provided you get done with those requirements within a year. And then finally, after you become certified, and in the bottom photo here, you can see Leslie presenting a certificate and our official VCE Master Gardening shirts to an applicant there. It's a big deal once you get certified. You feel so great. And thereafter, to maintain your status as a Master Gardener, you need to do 20 hours of volunteer work a year and 8 hours of continuing education. And like I said, at that point, most join Master Gardeners of Northern Virginia, which is the association that basically runs our group. And I'll explain more about why we exist, but essentially it's because we're such a large group that it's really helpful to have an association provide some structure, some organization in terms of committees and leadership, having a board to manage our budget. That's why we exist. Not all of the Master Gardener programs in our state have an association that works with VCE, but we do, and I think it's very helpful in terms of maintaining the excellent work that we're able to do. I love this slide. This has been in here for a while. That's Leslie when she was an intern, and a group of fellow interns at a home garden tour. It's one of the fun things we do as part of our program. You get to visit a fellow intern's home garden, and it's a really fun bonding activity because usually the host will ask advice. He or she will give a tour of their garden. People make recommendations or get good ideas for their own garden. It's just an example of the fact that we not only are stewards of the teaching that we receive, but we also are a great community. And this is one of the first sort of community building events that you will do, in addition to just showing up at class, right? Okay. There are three key areas that VCE supports and that you'll learn about through your training. The first has to do with forestry and native plants. So what you learn is not all plants are created equal, and there's a big focus on the benefits of native plants as well as their beauty. We also learn about invasives and like which plants are invasive and why we should remove them. Then moving on, we also spend a lot of time talking about urban agriculture. That includes community gardening as well as fruit and vegetable production. We talk about water conservation and soil fertility management and my new favorite activity, composting. I mean, it's just incredible. I'm thrilled with the results that my compost has yielded. So I'm a huge convert. And then finally, stormwater management. Now, many of us may know more about this than we ever bargained, even now, because so many of our yards may pool water when it rains. But you will learn about how horticulture can actually help alleviate that pooling. You can plant certain native plants that thrive in wet conditions and that will draw up the extra water. We learn about erosion and pollution control and basically how to plan a landscape for the times in which we live, which include extreme weather as a result of climate change. All of those topics are fascinating, and we'll cover all of them in the work that you do with us. As I mentioned before, and as Leslie mentioned too, we focus mainly on the city of Alexandria and Arlington County, but we are part of a bigger nationwide program. So beyond the state of Virginia, the Master Gardeners exists pretty much everywhere in our nation, and I believe even some international locations too. They all have the same purpose. The curriculum is written by the land grant universities of each state, and I just had fun like plucking from the internet all of these different Master Gardener logos from around the US. I was like, oh, these are so cute. Like, I really like our logo too, but I had to hand it to them. Those are really nice as well. But anyway, it makes you feel part of a larger whole that this is going on everywhere in the United States. Yeah, and I see, Richard, thank you. There are Master Gardener chapters in Canada and South Korea. That's pretty cool. And we do have a Master Gardener College that at least gathers those of us in the Commonwealth of Virginia to get to know and meet one another. And there is an international Master Gardener College as well. You're just part of a bigger thing out there. So our program rocks. Everyone that you meet, even from outside of our jurisdiction, is just like, oh my gosh, your website is incredible. Or thank you so much for providing this presentation. It was, just incredible. We get tons of awards because of the commitment of our volunteers. Northern Virginia is a place of overachievers, and nowhere is that more evident than our organization. When I joined, I had come from, a large law firm where you worked really hard and excellence was demanded. And I came to this organization and was like, wow, super impressed by just everyone's level of commitment, even down to the smallest detail. So if I was working hospitality at one of our meetings, and it's just everybody was so eager to assist, like, let me help you out here. So we are a collection of doers, and we not only are presenting excellent content to our community all about horticulture, but we are also helping each other out whenever we can, and that yields really amazing results when we come together. So as you can see here, we just recently won the Youth Education Outstanding Community Organization Award from the governor. And this is us toasting ourselves when we went down to Richmond to receive the award. And then we've won so many other awards. You'll hear from Elaine Mills, who has been an awardee just on her own due to her excellent work, and so many others I could point to. I mentioned before we have this incredible website which gets a lot of accolades. I just sort of was trying to express within the slide how many different topics we cover, and we cover in depth. This is a list of just the subject areas of our presentations, but we have articles, we have videos. I mean, it's just incredible what you can find there. So I highly urge all of you after this presentation to go check out our website, which will say again and again, but it's mgnv.org. So mastergardenersofnorthernvirginia.org. If you Google that, you'll find us. It's well worth a look. We have a social media committee which oversees the website, as well as our own like members only website, which is also quite good. Okay, just our program by the numbers. At least based on our 2024 annual report, we had 275 members, of which 260 roughly were active members. We have a whole range of titles, but those are the ones who are actively working as master gardeners. You can see that it means almost 25,000 hours volunteered to our community, averages to about 91 hours per person. Although, again, I think there's a wide range. There are some folks who have more available time that they're able to spend volunteering, and we appreciate whatever people are able to give, even if it's not more than the minimum 20 hours of volunteer work and 8 hours of continuing ed. But we are growing, and I think part of the reason for that is we are retaining more folks than we ever have before, given our added flexibility in terms of the number of programs that we have, the ways in which you can meet your hours requirements. Like we have more activities on the weekends to accommodate those who work full time. We're just trying to be more conscious of opening up our program to a wider array of folks to participate. So I talked about our flexibility, and I think this slide really emphasizes that there are really so many different ways to volunteer as a master gardener. If you enjoy researching and writing responses, then working at the help desk would be like your jam. If you prefer interacting with folks one-on-one or like in a community setting, then working at a plant clinic would be your ideal scenario. If you love digging in the dirt and learning about plants as you do so alongside your fellow master gardeners, then a demonstration garden would be a perfect place for you. If you enjoy presenting to folks and sharing what you've learned, either in this style through Zoom or a live presentation, then our public ed committee is for you. There are just so many different ways to become involved. And our youth education committee is fairly new, although we've always had master gardeners who work with youth, but we decided to get much more organized about it. And now we have this umbrella committee that works with youth. You'll hear much more about it later in our program, but that's really taken off as well. There are just so many different ways to tailor your experience to your own interests and needs. So that's the point I want to really pound home. Okay, Master Gardeners of Northern Virginia, like I said, is the charitable organization that partners with VCE in the Master Gardener program. So we have a 9-member elected board. We each serve 3-year terms. Our budget is around $35,000 a year, and we are kind of the fundraising arm of the Master Gardeners. So we hold 3 plant sales a year. We also have member dues, and we have an annual fundraising campaign. But as I mentioned previously, the reason why we exist is because we're such a large and diverse organization that it's really essential to have some structure to how we function. It really creates a much more efficient way of managing all of us. And it's been really fun for me. Like, as I said, there are all these different ways you can become a master gardener. And I was one of those people that was just like excited by all of them. So have my foot in many different committees and just have really enjoyed getting to know the organization as a board member as well to see how everything works together and how different committees can partner together for different activities. It's a fantastic organization and one that you'll meet friends for life, basically. I thought I'd provide some eye candy to all those gardeners out there. So on the right here, we have Lisa in Simpson Garden. This is a garden right outside the YMCA on Monroe in Alexandria. And then the middle photo is of the small space garden, which is right behind Fairlington Community Center, which is where VCE has our local office. That's where Leslie works when she's in the office. And that small space garden is behind that building. And if you've ever gone to Fairlington Farmers Market, they often get a lot of folks who visit there. And then the bottom photo is a team of YEP people volunteering at the YMCA Healthy Kids Fun Day. And on the left here, we have a master gardener cutting up different peppers that were grown in our organic vegetable garden for Pepper Fest, which is a really fun event that they host every year. You get to work in these fabulous gardens and with great friends. Here we have, again, the Youth Education Committee on the right, and we have Ben Murphy working in the small space garden on the left. Once again, just representations of the types of people we are and the types of gardens we grow. The benefits. You will continuously learn both as a student and as a teacher. There's no better way of learning than having to teach it yourself. It really provides you with purpose. Tending a garden is just so therapeutic. And when you learn all about horticulture and sustainable horticulture, it makes you just feel so good about what you're doing. When plants thrive, you feel alive. I think that's really true. And then also there's the element of fellowship and community that you'll gain from joining us. There's also some plant discounts, which is a nice bonus. And it just so happens that many master gardeners also happen to love cooking. And so when we do have social events, you will eat very well. And I think, does that conclude my presentation? Yes, sharing knowledge, empowering communities. It's what it's all about, and it's a fabulous group to be a part of. So we hope you'll consider applying. All right, with that, I'll turn it back over to Leslie.
Thank you, Cindy. All right. I think you guys have a pretty good overview now of what master gardeners do. So this part of the presentation, it's basically I put it together because I used to overhear master gardeners always saying the same thing, that they had no idea of what they were getting into when they had signed up for the volunteer training program. And fortunately, lucky for us, that many of them, despite being surprised at what was involved, many of them continued on to be excellent volunteers. So in an attempt, though, to make sure that you guys actually understand what you're signing up for if you choose to apply, I put together this portion of the presentation. So all right, the first thing I like to do is start by looking at the phrase master gardener volunteer. And lots of folks get excited about seeing that term master, like I'm going to take this class and I'm going to know everything there is to know about gardening. What we find in reality is people take the class and it opens their eyes into how broad and far ranging that the world of gardening can be. And we realize there's so much to learn, but that's like a huge part of the fun. So the next word in this phrase you might think might be the most important one, right? Gardener, like that is what this program's all about. Well, I want to let you know we do indeed do lots of digging in the dirt. We grow vegetables, we work with native shrubs, we do all of that. But you can be a gardener and just work in your home garden, and that would not add value to our program. So that's actually not the most important word. Also, we want you to be aware, Cindy kind of alluded to this, that you have many skills other than your gardening knowledge that we want to use. Some people are financial auditors, some people are great public speakers or editors, website developers, graphic artists. Those are all skills that we need and we want you to share with us. So, any talent you have, we are excited to put it to use. So the last word in this phrase is actually volunteer, right? And that is the most overlooked word, but actually the word that we want you to pay the most attention to. So you are signing up when you join this program to be a volunteer. You're agreeing to share your knowledge that you gain in class and during your internship with your neighbors and our communities in Arlington and the city of Alexandria. Okay, now we're going to get down to the specifics for our 2025 volunteer training. I'm looking at the slide and seeing a whole bunch of words, but let me just kind of walk you through this. Um, in past years, we did like all day in-person training. We spent like 6.5 hours together, and there are benefits to that, but that also makes for a really long day. So we have developed a hybrid format, and that's what we're going to go with this year. So we will be watching two pre-recorded topical programs each week. They're 2 to 2.5 hours long on topics such as botany, soil, herbaceous plants. And we will be using a Canvas learning platform to manage and post those class materials. If you have kids in school, you might be familiar with Canvas. It's a website. I'll show you a picture next slide. But it's just a website, and we can teach you how to use it if you're not familiar with it at this point. Then on Tuesday afternoons, we will be gathering from 3 to 5 p.m. And we will meet in person at the Fairlington Community Center and sometimes on Zoom too. These in-person times together will let us get to know each other. And just to be aware too, when we meet on Zoom, it's cameras on. Be ready to be engaged, unlike our some of our students who want to like turn their cameras off and kind of hide on Zoom. When we have our classes on Zoom, we expect to see you and hear from you during those sessions. We plan to begin our classes on Tuesday, September 2nd, and we will conclude on Tuesday, November 11th with graduation that following Saturday. And I'd just like to point out to people that Tuesday, November 4th is election day. We cannot hold class on that day, so we will move that class to a Wednesday. We will also have 3 Saturday field trips. I've listed out our planned dates here, so you can just kind of be looking at those in advance. We use our field trips to cover topics like propagation that are more easily understood when you're doing it in a hands-on format, and also to get out to visit our demonstration gardens. And lastly, we always do a spring pruning practicum. It's usually one of our most fun classes, but that will be in February of 2026. I'd just like to kind of alert people to that. All right, this is just a peek at what our Canvas platform looks like. You can see it's just a regular website. We have different modules for each of our topics. You can see we put homework up there. I think you guys can see my cursor. We have the presentations, and if we have quizzes and such forth, you will be able to get to them there. All right. All right. I do want to be upfront that attendance is required for the in-person classes. So if you know already that you have a conflict on a couple Tuesdays that we would have in class, we hope you will plan to join us at a different time. 1 to 2 planned absences often turns into 3 or 4 absences when there's unexplained illness or emergencies that come up. So please do really look at your schedule before you decide to apply. All right. So we'll spend our Tuesday afternoons covering our 2 different topics, as I mentioned. You'll be able to meet with the speakers whose presentations you recorded and ask your questions to them directly. You'll get to know your classmates, which is easier to do in person, and we have fun perks like snacks during class. Pardon me while I take a drink here. All right. In addition to our classes, we're going to have 5 to 6 hours of reading per week. I bump that number up every year because every year people told me, actually, I think you're still underestimating that. So do know that in addition to watching the recordings, we have classes. Um, we have the reading, and it will come out to be probably between a 10 and 12 hour a week commitment to take the class. I'd like to compare it to taking a college class, a semester college class, for an 11-week period. And you will even give like a mini presentation during class by giving a presentation on an assigned frequently asked question. And this year we are using our new Master Gardener Handbook, which was first used last year for the first time. It's in color, which is a nice addition, and you'll be our second class to go through using that. All right, this is just a peek at some of the topics we'll cover. Soils is a big class. That's kind of one of our basics. I think people underestimate the importance of soils. Okay, now on to our application process. So I plan to open up the application process this Friday on June 6th. And I do want to let folks know this fall we plan to have 20 to 25 spots. Now, we do not know how many applicants we'll have this year, but we will stay with that number. So if we get 40 applications, we'll still only be able to take 20 to 25 spots. I do want to let you know, though, that we value resilience in our applicants. And so if you apply and you didn't get in this year, then we take that into account when you apply the following year. It shows that you're committed to taking the training. All right, we'll be accepting applications until June 29th, so you'll have just over 3 weeks to turn in the applications. I do want to let you know if you submit your application earlier, that is really helpful for us, but it does not give you an advantage or a higher chance of being selected. But we really do appreciate people who turn those in so I don't get like 50 applications on the very last day. Our applications include an online and paper portion. We collect and review the applications, and then we move on to interviews. Interviews are usually via Zoom and last about 30 minutes. And we hope to notify people after we do our interview process by August 5th if they've gotten a spot in the class. As I think I let you know earlier, everybody before you turn in an application will be required to either attend or watch the recording of information night. So you guys are on the right path already. All right. There are kind of two portions to the application. There's an online portion and a paper portion. I will email out clear instructions to you on Friday to do both of those, but I do want to make sure you understand that you have to complete both portions of the application, the paper portion and the online portion, before we'll even look at your application. You'll be able to either scan and email me back the paper portion, or you're welcome to come by the office. I love it when people come by the office and visit me and turn in their applications as well. So every year I have applicants who don't complete both sides of the application, and we do not consider those. I mean, I know some people actually determine while they're going through the application that maybe they're not going to apply, but I just don't want anybody to get left out who thinks that they've, gosh, I completed the questionnaire and turned it in. Again, you have to do both portions. And I do make sure to email people back when I've received both of those parts. So if you haven't gotten a confirmation from me, then please go ahead and send me an email. All right. And then lastly, I want to let people know that in order to reserve, if you're offered a spot, in order to reserve that spot, we will need to receive your payment. One year it was the saddest thing. I had somebody who showed up on the day of class with their check and was then surprised that they did not have a spot. And so I really want to make sure, in order to confirm your spot, if you're offered one, you'll need to submit payment. But we do not collect payment until you've been offered a spot. All right, here's a quick peek onto our online portion of it. In our organization, we use a volunteer management system called Better Impact. And that's where you're going to complete your online portion. Again, I'm going to send this out to you Friday, so you'll get a link to receive the initial page. And you'll just start that portion by entering your general contact information. Just a couple little details to be aware of. There's these little flags next to some of the information, and that just indicates a required field. And then there are other symbols that's a small I, and that indicates you can click on that for further information. You'll go through and you'll give us your general availability. I want to make sure people understand, like, if you check off that you're available on, Thursday evenings, that does not commit you to doing your volunteer hours only on Thursday evenings. This is kind of just a general way for us to understand, are you available more often on weekends? Do evenings work well, or do you prefer to volunteer during days? So it doesn't commit you to that. It just kind of gives us a little window. All right. You're going to skip two sections that are next, the About You and Experience sections, because we have a questionnaire that you'll fill out that'll allow you to provide a little more information than you would provide here. We also have a state requirement to run background checks. And so when you fill this out, you'll be agreeing to have a background check run, and also to our standards of conduct, which you can read. All right. The questionnaire is the paper portion I was telling you about, and this is our opportunity to learn about you. So we redid this form because the online portion really didn't give us enough room to get to know you, and we really want to get to know you by reading this and meeting with you. So if we receive a large number of applications, the questionnaire is what we're going to use to kind of like tailor down how many spots who we want to reach out to first. So sometimes I get questionnaires that have like 1 or 2 word answers. It's much harder to feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit if I've gotten a 1 or 2 word answer. Sometimes that is an answer to the question, but I encourage you to uh, give us some information when you're answering the question so that we can get to know you. You'll tell us how you heard about us. Are you a new or experienced gardener? And I want to emphasize this point. We love having both new gardeners and experienced gardeners. When I took the training myself in 2015, we had just bought our home, and I had really never done gardening at all before then. So we welcome experienced and new gardeners. Don't let that stop you from applying. Do you have any other volunteer experience that you might want to share with us? Tell us about those non-gardening skills that I mentioned. Are you a writer? Are you a photographer? Do you work on websites? Do you do event planning, public speaking? Those are such valuable skills to us. We want to know about those. All right. the- this this part is really getting down to the nitty gritty, so bear with me as we go through this. We have a volunteer agreement, and we want to really kind of clearly spell out to you what you're committing to when you decide to do the volunteer training. So I'm going to go through just a couple of these quickly. You're agreeing to attend all of our classes, right? So you're not agreeing to like, oh, I'm going to make like half the classes. You're agreeing to commit to attempt to attend all of the classes and do makeup work if you can't. You're also agreeing to complete your internship. Sometimes we get students who have come for the learning and then we don't see them again. And the internship is really kind of where the investment that we've put into you is paid back forward to the program. And so we want people to understand that they're committed to completing the 60-hour internship over the year after the classes. So we're going to talk about the details of the internship a little bit more later. All right. Master gardeners, you should also know we deliver science-based information. So, like Cindy was saying, Aunt Mabel's home recipe for, keeping caterpillars off your tomatoes is not what we're going to be sharing with the public. Um, all right. And whenever we give a chemical pest control recommendation, you'll hear us refer to this guide all the time, but all chemical recommendations must come directly from our pest management guide, which is updated annually. So we get a new pest management guide every year, and if you make any sort of chemical recommendations, it will have to come directly from that book. All right. Just a couple other details. The title of Extension Master Gardener is not supposed to be used for personal business purposes or financial gains. If you become an Extension Master Gardener, Virginia Cooperative Extension does give you some liability coverage, but this does not cover medical issues. So if you're volunteering and you have a medical issue that comes up while you're volunteering, that would be covered by your personal insurance or health coverage. All right, and kind of finishing up here, you will need to complete paperwork every year. You'll need to take civil rights training every year and risk management training every 3 years. And as I believe Cindy already said, once you become a certified master gardener, you are committed to giving 20 hours of volunteer time and 8 hours of continuing education each year. So frankly, I think the continuing education is what really draws a lot of people or keeps a lot of people because all of us come in wanting to learn. So we have a great continuing education committee, um, and we have a lot of wonderful opportunities. All right, after all, my gosh, did you feel like you just signed your life away to become a master gardener? Remember back to what Cindy was explaining to us, like, why do I want to become a master gardener? Um, like I said, we had a master gardener from the class of 2006 who said, I didn't know what I was getting into, but I stayed when I saw the amazing things that this group was doing and because of the wonderful people here. One of my all-time favorite quotes from an intern from 2016 was she said, after getting involved with this group, I went home and I told my husband, I found my people. And I think so many of us feel that way. It like that you have found the community that you want to be with. Um, I went through the training in 2015. I had waited several years to fit it into my schedule. My youngest had just started kindergarten. I had so much fun on my intern project, getting to know my classmates, and obviously had a lot of fun because 2 years later I took this job. And I just, frankly, I feel honored to work with like the committed, generous people, this group. We're teaching others about urban agriculture and sustainable landscaping, and we really care about taking care of the planet and taking care of each other. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm still here after 8 years. And we hope that you will join us. So um, we're going to quickly kind of go through, you're going to talk with some master gardeners now. Um, Youth education program is not a specific requirement for internships, but we really, really, really want to recruit people who want to work with kids. So if you're interested in working with kids, we hope you will apply because this is a group that's growing and we need more volunteers. And to talk to us briefly about this, Ann Cusick is going to join us. Ann is a member of our fall 2022 class. She's very active with YAP. She's currently serving on the board and assisting with hospitality, so we're keeping her quite busy. And do you want to unmute and just say a few words about YAP?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I won't say anything about myself, but anyway, just to reiterate what Leslie said, and I think Cindy alluded to before, the organization has always had youth related programs, but I think in 2021 or 2022, right before I started, in the picture, the two women in red and to her right, Anne Reed and Debbie Keefe, started this program to bring together. They're both retired educators, and they wanted to have a more organized program for youth education. And so they started it, made it a committee, and they have, I mean, it's really grown just in the few years it's existed. They started off putting together different programs for different ages. So we work with preschoolers about 4 years old through high school. There's even a program that's at the Virginia, if I remember the name right, the Virginia Youth Detention Center. And there's in high school groups, we have a number of clubs that are, fourth graders and middle school and excuse me. If you like working with children, there's, as you can see, there's just the whole age range. So you don't have to be, if you really don't like working with little 4-year-olds, you can work with 10-year-olds or middle school or high school. There's all kinds of opportunities, and we tailor what we do. So I coordinate the preschool program. So a lot of it is learning through play. We talk about, one of the sessions was about vegetables and what grows above ground and what grows below ground, and then pulling out veggies and having them, shout out what it was and where it grows. And then with older kids, it's often, it always involves some in-garden work, that the kids will plant seeds or transplants. They've grown vegetables, pollinator gardens, designed. I don't know exactly what's been done with the older kids, but I know that, that it gets more sophisticated as the kids get older, for obvious reasons. But I would have to say that all of the kids are enthusiastic, the teachers are enthusiastic, and we're stretched thin because there's so much demand. So if you come on board, we hope that you will consider volunteering with us. It doesn't have to be, a commitment to doing it every week or whatever. You can fill it in as we need people, but having certainly having people committed to a program at a school for the entire school year is quite helpful, but it's not required. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Anne. All right. Next up, we have Elaine Mills, who's going to talk about our demonstration garden. So now we are on to the portion of the internships. So the next areas that we're going to talk about are how you would be spending time during your internships. So Elaine is a class of 2012 Master Gardener. Her primary interest is in sustainable gardening. She created our first set of fact sheets, the tried and true native plants, which you can see on our website. Elaine is an incredible photographer, and she's been taking pictures for more than 15 years in public and private gardens. She has previously served as a longtime coordinator for our Glen Carlin Library Community Garden in Arlington, and she is now serving as in the very important position as the lead of our public education committee. So Elaine, do you want to tell us something about the gardens?
Yes, thank you very, very much, Leslie. I'll be happy to do that. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your interest in our program. As both Leslie and Cindy mentioned, the internship is involved with 60 hours of participation, and 20 of those hours can be filled in the demonstration gardens. And the way you would do that is by participating in what we refer to as work parties. These each run 2 hours. So if you participate in 10 work parties over the course of the year-long internship, that would give you the 20 required hours toward certification. We have 9 demonstration gardens now, ranging from North Arlington down into the city of Alexandria. The furthest north is the organic vegetable garden at Potomac Overlook Regional Park. They have beautiful raised garden beds. They're gardening through a good portion of the year, and they will show you such things as composting, crop rotation, companion planting, and then the food is harvested and given to our food banks. Moving a little further south at Bon Air Park, we have 2 of our demonstration gardens. The Sunny Garden obviously focuses largely on plants for that particular growing condition, but that garden has really expanded greatly in the last couple of years. They now have a huge section on native shrubs, a whole new section on native trees, and a really interesting portion of the garden demonstrating native alternative ground covers to replace turf. Then down the garden path, away from the parking lot at Bon Air, is the oldest of our gardens, the Shade Quarry Garden. And this is actually located in an old rock quarry. There you'll see plants that obviously are situated for shade, and they are located in different sections of those rock walls. So you'll see beautiful ferns, wildflowers, lots of ground covers that last throughout the year. Moving a little further south, just south of Route 50, Arlington Boulevard, is the Glencarlin Library Community Garden. This garden is a bit different than some of the others in that there's a great deal of built infrastructure. So we have a patio area, lots of container plantings, seating for people to relax and enjoy the space, as well as a gazebo. And this particular garden completely surrounds that branch of the library with lots of different garden rooms. There are some that focus on plants for shade, some for sun, tropical plants. There's a section with an Asian focus, and a brand new herb garden in raised garden beds. There's also a big focus on sustainable water practices and climate conscious gardening principles. Then moving even a little further south to the Fairlington Community Center, where you'll be doing your in-person training. There are 2 gardens there. The first is a pocket-sized garden, the Tribute Bench Garden. And this garden is dedicated to master gardeners, past, present, and future. Around on the back side of the building in a little courtyard is the small space garden. You've seen several photographs from there. This garden demonstrates how you can grow both edible plants as well as native plants in very constricted areas, maybe just a deck, a patio, or even a balcony. Then we have 3 gardens in Alexandria. Simpson Garden is the largest of our demonstration gardens, and it has 13 different garden rooms, including a water rise garden, a tufa garden, a pollinator garden, and a beautiful sensory garden there as well. That's located next to the YMCA. Buddy Ford Nature Center is actually a collaboration between master gardeners and master naturalists. And the effort there is to replace all of the invasive plants that had taken over a large pollinator garden to allow native plants, the seeds, to come back up, and then to add new native plants as well. And then finally, our newest of the gardens is surrounding the Duncan branch of the library in Alexandria. Like the Glencarlin Garden, it completely surrounds the library. There's a very large pollinator garden with a large focus on native plants. There's an effort now to introduce native plants into the more traditional foundation plantings, and efforts to introduce herbs and vegetables as well. So by participating in these gardens, you'll be learning garden techniques, best management practices, propagation of plants, pruning, everything to do to help maintain these gardens. And you'll be able to demonstrate these for the public. The fun thing about participating in these work parties is not only you're actually doing the hands-on gardening, but you get to meet the garden leaders, other longtime Master Gardeners, and it's an opportunity to bond with members of your class. A very important aspect is this whole sense of community, which I really have savored for the past years. So we hope you'll apply to our program.
All right, thank you so much, Elaine. Okay, we're going to move on to our help desk. Richard Derbyshire is going to talk to us about this, and he's from our spring class of 2022, and he is definitely someone who has wholeheartedly embraced our program. I'm hard pressed to think of an area where I have not seen Richard out there volunteering for us. So he's a regular at our help desk. He's currently serving on the board as our treasurer. He's very involved in our youth education program, and you can regularly find him out at local schools sharing public education with our younger community members. So, Richard, you want to talk to us about
Sure.
help desk?
Yes, so the help desk is at the Arlington Community Center. Your obligation as an intern is to attend three-hour sessions. The help desk operates Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. So the 3 sessions are to train you in how to respond to the inquiries we get. And so we get 3 types of inquiries. We have people who drop off plants that are diseased or problematic, and that's one method. We get people who walk in and say, how do I do this? Or I need help with this or that in my garden. And lastly, we get phone calls and then emails. And so the job of the help desk is we try to respond to each and every inquiry in order. We like the help desk, and you can see an image of the primary work position. There are 2 work positions and 2 microscopes. Our role is to use, Leslie mentioned the pest management guide. So we are often trying to diagnose disease plants or plants with problems. So we always start with the pest management guide. We also use the resources from Virginia Tech, but we also use resources from other educational organizations such as the University of Maryland, North Carolina State University, Penn State, and the like. So it's a question of researching and responding to the questions that folks have. So these three-hour training sessions, in this past year, we worked very hard to craft a particular intern training program so that you get introduced to the help desk and everything else that's in the environment of the work office. And then we slowly bring you along with hypothetical questions, hypothetical situations, and then bring you finally to a 3rd training session, which I'm attending one tomorrow with an intern. And I'll be working with her to do her first time at making live responses to whatever's on the computer that day. So the help desk is a great opportunity to challenge yourself in areas of gardening that you don't know. So when I came to Master Gardeners, I'd known about it for years. And when I retired, I said, I'm getting certified. And I thought, I'm a pretty good gardener. I know what I'm doing. And no, you quickly learn that there's so much to learn, that this is a challenge every day. And the help desk is a great place where you can stretch your understanding of gardening practices, of plants, weeds, diseases, insects, you name it, everything comes up. This is the time of the year where, let's see, I was there last week. I think we had 3 people bringing ticks because everybody's freaking out about, ticks in their yard. So they think we're going to solve the problem of that. Well, we don't. But it's all part of an opportunity to learn, and as an intern, you get to participate in really helping people. So that's why I do it.
All right, thank you so much, Richard. All right, next up, we have Fatima Muhammad is going to talk to us about your hours that would be spent at the help desk. Fatima is from our fall 2022 class, and she's currently serving as the vice president on our board and our plant clinic liaison. Fatima is also an avid community garden at Chinkapin Community Garden, and she has taught our beginner vegetable gardening class. That's what her intern project was. So she's going to talk to you about what your time at our plant clinics would entail.
Hi, thank you, Leslie. Oh my gosh, sitting through this was like deja vu. I forgot how much all of this work I had to complete, but it was so worth it. Before I even talk about the plant clinics, just to anybody who still works, and if you're worried about the time, I did this program while still working. I know a lot of the speakers already said they're retired, and it required taking some time off to take the help to attend the health desk requirements. So I did have to take some time for that off, but it was so worth it. Even if you're looking at the hours for classes, I adjusted my schedule. I had a great boss and I was able to do lunch and take leave and go back to work. And I still work full time and I'm still able to maintain the annual commitment of volunteering. So please, if you still work, come join the Still Working Master Garden group and apply to the program. I think it adds diversity to the program. So I encourage you to do that. And the other thing I want to stress what Leslie said was about volunteering. It is about volunteering and giving back to the community. You learn, but you also have this obligation to give back to the community. And you meet great people like the people on this call, and they are really this nice in person. So, with that said, I have the pleasure of talking about plant clinics, which I truly enjoy. I participate now, and I was at the first opening for the Old Town Farmers Market Plant Clinic. And what I like about the plant clinics is you have an opportunity to interact with the community. You have an opportunity to talk about what you learn and also learn from the other master gardeners that are there helping the community. We have tons of resources at each of these clinics. Richard talked about our resource guides, our pest management guide. You have those resources there, other resources such as experience from other gardeners. And depending on which one of these plant clinics you attend to fulfill your required hours, you're going to get a diverse type of questions. Old Town, for example, we get a lot of visitors who may be visiting the city or may have small yard space, similar to the Delray community. Some of the other garden communities may have more apartment type questions because remember, we're not talking just about vegetable gardens of people with homes. You may be talking about container gardening. So folks want to grow, but they may not have the space to do it. And then you have Burlington, which I think is an awesome, great opportunity because when I did Burlington volunteer there, I was able to work in a small space and work the help desk clinic and shop at the food market at the same time. So each one of these are offered on Saturday. They're open from May to September or October, depending on the location. And because I work, there were even times when I volunteered at a plant clinic and I may have ran to Buddy Ford after to get my hour, to get an hour there. So it took a lot of organization on my part, a lot of commitment. I would listen to the recordings while walking, and you have to do the work Leslie talked about. But these are the plant clinics. Arlington Library is also great because it's in the evening I believe it's on a Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. And I also volunteer there, and you get a completely different slew of questions from the community that come into the Arlington Library. So it's achievable, and I reach out to me. I'll tell you anything else you want to know if you're interested in applying and you're a little skeptical about it because you still work. But it is a commitment. Mhm,
All right. Thank you, Fatima.
mhm. You're
All
welcome.
right. And last but not least, I want you guys to be able to hear from some current interns and some recent interns who it's fresh in their minds. So Betty Balanis and Marcus Bratt are currently working on their internships so they can provide you a really fresh perspective on that and on the joys and challenges of going through the class. So I'm going to have Marcus, if you'll go first, can you just share with us what you thought about the training and your internship thus far?
Yep. Hey everyone, good afternoon or evening, I guess. Yeah, so I was part of the Master Gardener intern class this last year, completed all the classroom stuff, now working through all the stuff Leslie talked about of the help desk, intern project, etc. I think my favorite things about the program were just, as everyone's kind of mentioned, getting to meet all the people with the program and just the depth and breadth of expertise, even after being with it almost a year. Still just amazed by how much people know about all the local plants and the varying advice they're able to give. Also, as people have mentioned, the breadth of where you can pursue your interests, whether it's, for me, more vegetable gardening. I've got a plot in one of the community gardens here. That's kind of my area of interest, but um, trees, rainwater management, all of those, kind of whatever your interest is, you can go and pursue that. And then also, the volunteer aspect of it. Now that I've told some people at work and in my family about this, I'm getting questions at work and from my friends and family of, hey, how do I do this? What do I do? Oh, we're redoing the garden. Should I rototill it? Varying opinions, but I've been telling a lot of people about the no dig gardening and a lot of the benefits of that. So even already without having completed the full training, being able to be that resource for people has been really rewarding. And hopefully a lot of people have benefited from that. I think the biggest challenges, as Fatima mentioned, I also work full time, and so trying to balance that with some of the help desk sessions, evening classes, and then even the weekends, definitely a bit of a challenge. And you have to put in the commitment and the time to be able to attend all of those. But once you're there, the time just flies by. Especially a lot of the actual in-person times at the demonstration gardens. Um, Spending the time there, getting to look at all the plants and kind of how each of those, even within the gardens, have specific sub focuses of, like I'm usually over at the Simpson Garden and the Tufa Garden, which is focused on kind of alpine rocks and those plants, or they have a scented garden, which is sweet smelling or aromatic plants, like all the different sub focuses within the gardens. It's definitely worth the investment and the commitment to go and work on those and get to experience those. Um, and then something that was different from what I expected, I think, was just the variety of everything that we got to discuss and learn about. You know, Me, I live in an apartment and have kind of been more container gardening, vegetable gardening focused. So that's kind of where my thoughts on it were. But then, looking at, oh, we serve all of Arlington and Alexandria. So there's a lot more lawns, trees, larger yard management, rainwater management, things that I might not personally have to deal with or be conscious of, but saying, oh, yes, people in the community, those are concerns for them. So learning about those and having to develop, some expertise in those areas that I might not have otherwise in order to be a resource. Um, so, still always learning with this, but the nice part about this being a large organization is there's lots of resources both on the website. It's honestly one of the best gardening websites I've found. And then just all the people, like the couple sessions at the help desk, the knowledge of those people that help at the help desk is pretty incredible. And the resources they're able to point to that we can then relay to other members of the community. So overall, it's definitely pretty fairly significant time and effort commitment, doing all the homework, the pre-reading, the videos, and the classes, but definitely rewarding, getting to learn that knowledge and then share it with the greater community.
All right, thank you so much, Marcus. Betty, what would you like to share?
Wow, this is tough because everybody's already pretty much covered, some of the things I was going to say, because definitely one of my favorite things has been the people that I've met, our class cohort, or I've, made a couple of friends, and, met somebody in my neighborhood that, has become my garden buddy. But also the master gardeners who have, already been through the program, whether it's 2 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever, they are just so generous with their knowledge and their time, and patient with us, less experienced folks. Um, I really appreciated the hybrid format that we had, because getting to class every week is a little tough sometimes. And I could, I knew which dates ahead of time were going to be on Zoom. So if I had to travel, or I just, was running late that day or whatever, I could kind of plan ahead. I really, really enjoyed, I called them field trips. Leslie calls them practicums, but getting out there and meeting people and seeing the different gardens that we visited was really, really fun. Challenges, yes, there's a lot of reading. And if you haven't taken a college class for a while, I'm retired, and hadn't done that for a while, it's just like, oh my God. And then the investment of watching the lectures and talks is also time. And Canvas, if you're not already familiar with it, can be a little challenging, but once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to use. And then when you think about, oh my God, I have to do 60 hours of volunteer time. Well, it's really broken down for you into the different categories, and and you have a year to do it. So it's doable if you kind of parse it out. Something that was different from what I expected, I guess, you know, I, it's really important what Leslie said about volunteer is the most important uh, word to focus on in the Master Gardener volunteers. I think when I first decided, before I found out about the program, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be a master gardener and I'm going to know all these things afterwards. And then, also that's the kind of perception from your friends and family. They're like, oh, you're a master gardener now, so tell me what I'm supposed to do with this, whatever I have, flower that is dying or whatever. And I'm like, well, let me do a little research and get back to you. I mean, that's one of the most important things that you learn early on is you don't have all the answers, but you have the tools, having gone through and learned reliable sources and how to research things. If you don't know the answer, and you usually don't, go to one of those sources and then get back to the person and say, I think maybe it's this, and try this. That sort of thing. So it's just been really great. I'm doing my, I've been doing a lot of work with the organic garden. It's in Potomac Overlook, which is close to my home and also close to my heart because I like to vegetable garden, and the crew there is really great. But it's important also to try different gardens and learn, meet the people there, because there are a lot of regulars at different gardens. So I think I probably, should move this along and just say, welcome, think about it, and really, I hope that everybody applies and that you have a really great experience like we've been having. Anyway,
All right, thanks so much, Betty. All right, and last but not least, we're going to have Annette Sigolito. She's from our class of 2023. Annette is currently serving on our board, and she did recently, just recently, did such an excellent job co-leading one of our major fundraisers, which is our big plant sale. So we've been so grateful to her for her efforts. Annette, what do you have to share?
Well, I do want to say that, Leslie, everything you said about the class certainly did, just like for Fatima, brought back all of these memories of everything that we went through, and just how daunting it seems when you hear it presented like this. But in reality, I think that the program is really well structured, and if you keep up with the reading and you follow you watch the videos and do everything as you're going along, it is really doable. My class was actually 100% in person. We had like full days on Tuesdays, so I realized that will be different than what folks are going to go through this time. But regardless, I think if you stay up with the reading, it seems like it's a fire hose. The book is this thick, and you realize you're going to read like everything in it, but you can get through it if you stick with it. I also wanted to share that the intern projects, you get to pick or kind of rank which intern projects you would like to do. And that may at first seem a little bit like, oh, this is, they're going to give us something to keep us busy. But actually, the projects are really, really important for the organization. They fill gaps that we have where we need help and volunteers. And I know I worked with the Public Education Committee, which runs the Friday Zoom classes that we have online. And that was, I'll put a plug in for it. It was a fabulous internship because I got to meet all of these great speakers who are so knowledgeable early on in the program. And it was continuous learning for me as well while I was going through the internship. So it was a really, it was just perfect for me as an internship. And it really complemented all of the work that you have to do, going to the gardens, getting your hands dirty, breaking leaves, or digging things up, and just helping to keep the demo gardens going. I think another thing I just want to emphasize, and so many people have said it, but this is a real community, and it's such a welcoming community of people who really care about each other and who really value teamwork. And they and I think that this is the kind of organization where you really get out of it what you put into it. So there are plenty of opportunities to just dive in, raise your hand, volunteer, offer to apply a talent that you have, whether it's working on a computer or doing graphic design or public speaking, as you mentioned, or whatever it may be that is your interest or your talent. We will find a use for it. And I think the thing I'm going to say that surprised me the most was just how many extension master gardeners have neglected gardens of their own at home because they are so busy volunteering and spending their time working in the community that it's just a common thing to kind of be like, wow, I've got to do this, and this, but I'm putting that on the back burner because I'm off doing something else. And it's just such a wonderful community that way. People really are focused on giving and educating in the community, and I really like that a lot. So I think that, and the last thing I'll say is the continuing education is also just so wonderful. It's not just, oh, I have to read another book or I have to attend another class, but there are great outings and things to do. I think it's a fun organization as much as it is a service organization. So I really am glad that I joined the Master Gardeners, and I've just found it to be a wonderful place. Like you said, Leslie, I feel like I found my people. So
all right. Thank you, Annette. Okay, guys, we have come to the end of our presentation. Yay. I know it's 8:25 here. So just to finish up here, we've talked about our website, mgnv.org. If you haven't already been on that website, gosh, like Marcus said, it's such a great resource. So I encourage everybody to check that out. My contact information is here, my phone number. Let's see, I'm going to stop sharing here. And Elaine, did we have any questions in the chat that we should cover? I don't want to put you on the spot there. Let me see. Let me see if I can get
Yes.
to the chat.
There were some questions. For example, I answered the fact that I think about half of the classes were going to be Zoom classes and half would be attended in person. But I guess there were more detailed questions about what the precise schedule was going to be.
Yeah, last year we did 50-50 on those two. This year I'm hoping to do more like 2/3 in person at Fairlington and maybe 1/3 on Zoom. So certainly we get to know each other better when we're in person, although I understand, that makes people who are working come into the community center a little more often. But that's what I'm aiming for, about 2/3 in person, 1/3 on Zoom.
We had a question about what areas of volunteering could be chosen. And I explained in a response that there were necessary hours that had to be fulfilled in each of these categories that we've named: the demo gardens, the help desk, the plant clinic, the intern project for the internship. But folks can choose which of the plant clinics they would like to attend, or they could choose which of the demo gardens. They could do a work party or so at every one of the gardens, or they may find that geographically they prefer to go to one particular garden, or because of an interest that they have, that they prefer one garden. Once you've certified, then the sky's the limit. You can volunteer in whatever area. And in addition to that, we have, as Cindy alluded to, we have various committees, Master Gardener of Northern Virginia committees. We have a public education committee with presenters, speakers. We have a very active social media committee, contributing articles, videos, photographs to our website. So and the YEP program that's been described as well. So lots of opportunities beyond the certification stage. Let's see what else.
Yeah, I see one here about the internship projects. So internship projects do vary every year. The one that Annette was just talking about, that is a recurring one because every year we do need additional facilitators. Marcus's project is redoing the tufa bed or updating the tufa bed at Simpson Garden. So we have a wide range. I do want to let folks know that this year we really are hoping to boost our public education committees, resources. We're really interested in getting more people who want to be speakers for us, be that in a formal manner, like on a Zoom presentation, or in a more informal manner, like doing a 5-minute presentation at a plant clinic or something. So if you are someone who wants to share public education, we are the right place for you. So the other project that I mentioned that we're hoping to boost this year is the youth education program. So if you're interested in working with children, there'll be a lot of opportunities for you there. Let's see, we always support the Arlington County Fair. So people will often make some sort of display for the Arlington County Fair. One year we had somebody who did a houseplant display. Another year we had somebody who did an herb display. So those are the types of things we do for our projects. But they do, like I said, the intern project itself, it's 21 hours of your internship and it does vary every year. So yeah, I see Richard saying, I saw this recently, created a hugelkultur garden at an elementary school. And also he did one at the Sunny Garden too. So, all right.
There was a question about whether
Yeah.
references were needed for the application.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. So we do ask for 2 references. I want to make sure your references can be your next door neighbor, a friend can be your reference. A coworker could be your reference. It does not need to be a supervisor, like a work reference or anything like that. So we're just kind of, looking for somebody who knows you, but it does not need to be like a formal business reference.
Someone wanted to know, how does one make up a missed in-person class due to a prior scheduled commitment?
Yes, so that is more challenging. Of course, when we have the Zoom, our Zoom classes, you can watch the recording of that, so at least you can see what happened. If you're gonna, this is why I encourage you to look at your schedule in advance. If you know that you were gonna miss an in-person class, we do not record those, so know that that's a missed opportunity. We used to actually send, when we were in our full day class periods, we used to send people over to other Master Gardener programs to make up presentations. The good thing is, with our presentations being recorded, you won't be missing our speakers. So that part will be available to you since we're doing that asynchronously. So there's not really a way to make up the in-person session. But for instance, if you were scheduled to deliver your frequently asked question project that day, then you would be looking to like find a classmate and switch that out for another day.
Someone has a compliment, great presentation. Would we share the slide deck? We're not going to share the slide deck per se, but we will be editing and captioning the recording, and that should be up as soon as we can get that ready.
Yeah.
For review, for people to view again.
All right. Any other questions? Like I said, when I post, as you said, we're not going to post the full slide deck, but when I send out the application materials on Friday, I will make sure to include for you like the dates that we covered and such for, so you could be looking ahead at those dates. All right. Any other questions we need to get to?
Let's see.
I saw somebody put the idea of a podcast. Wow, I love it. That'd be a whole new area for us.
Right.
Let's see.
Oh, what
All
happens
right.
if you don't pass the test?
Oh, hey, that's a good question, because we have people that get really concerned about that. So as Cindy said, there is a final exam, but it is open book and you have a week to get it done. So anybody who's determined to pass is able to pass. We've had like very few circumstances. I mean, last year, in fact, we had like, I think almost everybody got a 90 or above. So it's not that the final exam is hard because you have the materials there. It does take time though. So that is, I think sometimes people are like, oh, I'll just get this done in like 15 minutes. Like, no, it's like 100 questions. So it'll take you a little while. But anybody who wants to pass it, and if there was some complicating factor, we are not like a one strike you're out type of group. So just be aware of that as well. All right. Anything else you need to cover?
I think that's everything that was in the chat.
Yeah, I do plan to send out, I see everybody who registered, I will be sending it to you, the application materials directly to you. But if for some reason you don't get them, then do just look on our Become a Master Gardener page. And we sure appreciate you spending this much time with us on a Tuesday evening. It's kind of a preview of what attending class with us would be like. So we hope that you'll apply, and take care and have a good rest of your evening. Thanks to my Master Gardeners. I so appreciate my Master Gardeners coming in and helping us tonight. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.